Didn't bring the mic now close enough to me. Mic is not close. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Sunday service. We got 2 thumbs up already. We just started like 3 seconds ago. That's really good. How is that even possible? Hopefully you can all hear me perfectly well. It's pretty hard to test the mic. There's a Lexus key. I just discovered on the desk in front of me. Because this week I am driving the Lexus LC 500H, which has been a revelation in the people standing on the side of the road taking pictures of it. That's been a big revelation. They're all filtering in now. Here they all come. Ricky Finley has arrived. Eric Rochford has arrived. Good stuff. You can all hear me perfectly. That's good. The Blue Snowball is doing as well. I've just wolfed down a sandwich a second ago, so we're here. There was a lovely hi Joel, Andy McPhee. Between shifts, you're actually here on time. God, that's good. Hello, Niall. From my wheelchair. Phil, how's it going, man? William Johnson, I can never pronounce your name. Is it Mimisk? Good to see us all coming in. This is great. The regulars are arriving. We'll have more, please. Bus drivers are always on time. Yep. I was at a photo festival this morning. It was crap. It was right here in Portlaoise. It was meant to be some sort of a photo event thing where you go along and see equipment and stuff. And all I saw was stuff I didn't really need or want because I'm not really a photographer. I do video. I can do photos, but I'm not that kind of photographer. But that's on in Portlaoise today in the Midlands Park Hotel. I changed the name of it. But I was actually at the Dublin, Tech Festival the other day, which was Tuesday and Wednesday, or Wednesday and Thursday or something was on. This week has just flown by. So there's a video. The last video I put out is actually from that Dublin Tech Festival, which Casey Neistat was at. He was speaking at as well. He was here in Dublin. If you haven't watched his 2 videos, you should, because it's quite a revelation about how, I suppose, an American person perceives Dublin and how he saw it for the length of time he was here, which is kind of weird to watch because it comes across being absolutely terrible. Lee Morgan, thank you very much. Noel Elliott, Paul Madden, CD Models are all here. This is deadly. So many of us here already. Click the like button if you just arrived. Big shout out today, of course, to our regular sponsors, who is clearwater.ie. John has come back on and looked after us for the last couple of months, which has been absolutely brilliant, and has come back as an advertiser in the future, very, very near. If you want to sponsor this show, you can. Please get in touch with me, bobflav@thenextgear.com. If you want to talk about advertising or sponsorship of the show or of particular events or something that's coming up, there's all kinds of editorial abilities coming up. This is also linked below a podcast. So it's on Podbean at the moment as well, but it also comes out on iTunes. So if you want to do that as well, gigantic amount of Irish people actually listen to it as a podcast, which is very, very humbling. Thank you very much. But it's great to have you live guys here. But the guys are a huge amount of people now be listening as a podcast. Been absolutely brilliant. I've enjoyed that. The car, as people are asking this week as well, the car is, of course, the Lexus C. Wait now. Think of the name of it again. I keep forgetting those 2 letters. The Lexus LC 500H. I think it's LC, is it? TC. No, LC. My wife's trying to talk about this as well. I know I've got to remember these sort of things. It's LC. No, it's not. It's LC 500H. It's not LT 500H. Is it LT? My wife's trying to tell me over there what the name of the car is. None of us can remember the name of the car, but it looks amazing, I have to say. It is the hybrid one. So it's not the V8, and it does do about 50 miles per gallon, which is pretty good as well. Does the podcast go out live off this, or is it uploaded after? It is uploaded after. So it hasn't quite caught up on the live stream. So at the moment, it's about a month behind. There's maybe another 4 or 8 to fit in between the 2 of them. So once they go up, the whole lot will be actually up to date. And my hope is that as soon as the live stream ends here, it will go out as a podcast almost straight away. So let people filter through. I know I got emails from people this morning saying to me that they are listening. They're on a shift. Actually, I can see the email. Hold on. There's a bus driver who listens by earpiece to the Sunday service live. Can't ask any questions, but does send. Jim Glenmore. Thank you very much, Jim, for sending an email this morning. He got in touch. He's after buying a Skoda VRS for himself and is a bus driver and listens live. So a big shout out to him because he's probably working today. Also must shout out to a Lewis driver I met a couple of days ago who said exactly the same thing. He works shift on a Sunday on a Lewis. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry, I'm crap at names. But He said he listens on a Sunday as well, and listens in every single Sunday while he's driving his Lewis. So sorry if your Lewis is delayed, it's probably because he's laughing a bit too hard. Where are we? CVT takes a bit of effort to get used to. Not bad. Yeah, the Lexus is a CVT box, but it's got another thing called an ASIN box or something on the back of it as well, which is a 4-speed automatic is attached to the back of the CVT. So there's actually 2 gearboxes in the LC500, which gives the impression you've got 10 gears and makes you feel like the gears are actually changing. Unless you really floor it, then you just hear that CVT sort of noise. It is gorgeous. I mean, absolutely gorgeous thing to drive around in. My friend Leah Carl was in this morning, who was going back from the photo festival right now. Leah didn't like it. She thought it was something else entirely, but a girl's car. Must remember that. Anyone bought it? He bought an IS300H. Come on, CD Model S bought an IS300H. It's a good car. It does take a bit of effort getting used to CVT, but once you get the hang of it, it's not so bad until you actually floor the thing. Then it kind of feels a bit weird. Eric Rocher says, how would you rate the LC500 overall? How does it compare with the rivals? It's a head turner, a bit of left field. I think it's a work of art. It's one of the most beautiful vehicles you could buy in the market today. Particularly its stance on the road. It looks amazing. Real head turner of a car. But everything inside of it's a compromise. You will not really fit people in the back seat. It is more of a shelf than the 2 seats. My kids just about fit into the thing. I'm 6'1", so they don't really fit behind me. And the price in Ireland is €120,000. You could have an Audi A8 all day long there for €120,000, and you'll get 4 people into that fairly handy. So there's an awful lot of that part of it as well. So I really love the car, but I don't really love the price. I'm going to put that lad in timeout. Hans Holtz, you're an idiot. Just thought I'd do that. Now, stop asking those stupid questions. Why did that not work? It did work, didn't it? Sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of a user here. I'll get there in a second. We'll remove that as well. Now, we're getting you ready now. Sorry, we got an aggressive person has turned up and asking some really thick questions. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Right, moving on. Hello to you, Bob. Stopped at the lights. Hi, James Dunn. Was I stopped at the lights? Did you wave at me or something, James Dunn? That's good. I'm glad you did. Bob. Noel Elliott says to say hello to you, Catherine. That's my wife. So Noel Elliott's just saying hello here. One of the people on stream. I could be sacked if I got caught listening in an earpiece. Andy, that's terrible. Send them on to me. Tell them that you listen to me and let them see, and I bet you they get it wrapped up in it. George Rebsdale says, afternoon, Bob, I'm about to take the plunge on a 2014 SRI Insignia due to its good price. Tell me I'm not mad. You're not mad. Good car. I wouldn't be the greatest Opel fan in general, particularly with the Insignia, so I'm not really... I just find them uncomfortable and they're weird, but then some people do really love the idea of driving Opel's Vauxhalls. The SRI is probably the better one of the bunch. You will knock a bit of crack out of it. I just find there's a few too many buttons on the dashboard and there's a few kind of clunky feel, but they're a great car. There's a mate of mine in Midlands 103 drives an Opel Insignia and he absolutely adores the thing. I mean, it's the greatest car he's ever driven. He loves it. So it's, subjective sort of thing. But for me, it wouldn't be my first choice or plum choice among those sort of things. William Johnson says, did you meet Casey Neistat? I did, briefly, just for a couple of seconds. He was coming up a hall. You can actually see it in the video. He comes out as backstage. He comes out and walks up this hall to go up the other end of it. Just at the edge of that video, I went over and said hello and shook his hand, and we had a moment where we had a chat. But it is very hard in his world, very hard in my world. I was there, working there. His world, he's working there as well. He's employed to be there, so it's impossible to keep everybody happy. And there's so many kids there that day. There was just so many kids. It was so funny to see these 14, 15, 16-year-old kids with media passes on them, as if they're journalists or something. But it was really cool. Casey seems actually pretty nice, in fairness to him. Busy, but nice. I have a cup of tea today rather than a cup of coffee, as normally it. Andy says, you always seem to get a hell of a lot for your money with an Insignia. It leaves me skeptical. Yeah, they throw a lot of things into a car when the car is selling well. That's usually what it do. So as the car tapers back, they start to put more equipment into it to get rid of the car to make it look more attractive. That kind of works. And like I say, it's not there's anything particularly wrong with an Opel Insignia. there's just things, I find it very easy. Sometimes you sit into a car and you go, I don't like all this. And that's it. And there's all sorts of reasons why that happens. It's not personal. It's not that I don't like Opel. I know lots of people who work in Opel directly, but so it's not that kind of thing. It wouldn't be my kind of car. So if you just are landed here, 64, you're watching right now, this very second, click the like button. Thanks very much. It'd be brilliant if you could do that. Just click. It doesn't do anything. Don't worry. It's not going to suddenly appear in your timeline. Your friends and family aren't suddenly going to get notifications from you. All it does is tell YouTube that this is a liked thing. So, also, there are some links down below. Shout out to Clearwater.ie who sponsor this podcast and sponsor everything at the moment. If you're interested in sponsoring yourself, you can get in touch with me, bobflavin@thenextgear.com. But if you want to support this channel as a user, which we've been expanding for the last few months, this little community has come together and we're all expanding beautifully over time. The video quality is going up. I'm hoping to get, at some point, we're hoping to get some assistance on this as well. I'd love to hire a full-time editor, someone actually come in and do that job. That would require a lot of money, to be honest with you. But, you know, you never know. I might get there eventually. You can do it over on Patreon, which is right there, and you can also do it on PayPal. All those links are down below if you want to support this channel. It'd be really appreciated. The expansion of the channel has been huge over the last few months and it's cost an awful fortune. A lot of time. But yeah. Eric says he thinks the talking A8 no contest. I wouldn't say no contest. I really love the Lexus. I don't really love the price. And when you start looking around what you can get for 120,000 euro, it's you know, there's a lot of cars you can have in that price range. That would be really good. We're even looking at some of the more modern, is it Porsche 9? No, 924, 92. I can't remember what the hell. No, I don't understand in Porsche numbers. One of the more modern Porsches is actually around that same price. So you're in that zone. And an Audi A8 and the BMW 7 Series and all that sort of stuff. They're all around that same price as well. Hans Holtz is obviously a Russian fake news bot thing that's still on the go post-election. Yeah, I know. I love that. Yeah. Well, I get a lot of bots in fairness on these days. But anyway. Don't buy an Insignia. They are fierce unreliable, says the Petrolhead 94. Don't know. I think they're all about the same, really. How relevant will new cars bought today be in 2 years when all the manufacturers are pushing electric? All the manufacturers are pushing electric right now, Paul. That's the thing. They're actually doing it right now. They're priming you up for electric. Other manufacturers like BMW are not priming you up for electric. They don't know where they're going. They're kind of in between everything. They kind of have a lot of diesels. Some are four-wheel drive, some are two-wheel drive. They have electric, they have i3s. They're not too sure whether they have i8s anymore. The i8 didn't fare out very well for them, even though we all loved it. It still didn't have the sales, and it didn't have it devalued badly as well. People don't, you know, it wasn't held on to by the users who actually bought it. So they're in a bit of a tailspin at the moment, BMW. So in the meantime, Audi have been working away hugely in the background and turning out some fantastic machines, both high performance petrols, performance diesels, and then this electric run that's coming from them as well. It's on the way, and they've always been four-wheel drive. They've always had quattro, so they're experts at it. So a little bit of that. Mercedes seem to just continually launch cars. I don't know what's going on there, but they seem to continually do that. So they have a gigantic amount of cars coming. The new A-Class looks kind of nice. You know, there's some good cars seem to coming out of, but again, not pushing for electric. They all seem to want to get there, but they're all reluctant to take that step. And yet I've seen another video tonight. There's a channel that I watch every once in a while called Real Engineering. It's an Irish guy. He's in Galway. He's over 1 million subscribers. It's really like a heavy duty work channel. It's very good. But I watched the other night, he brought up one about hydrogen, how hydrogen works. Now, I'm very skeptical about his video because it's sponsored by Shell. And Shell have just opened a hydrogen fuel station in England. It all sounds brilliant, but when you have a journalistic approach of how hydrogen is going to save the future and is sponsored by the hydrogen manufacturer, that's like me telling you, no, that's like a video coming out in this channel going, the Audi thing is the best car in the world, sponsored by Audi. It doesn't make any sense, right? So I'm kind of skeptical of that, but I still like the idea of where we're going with hydrogen, and that's on the way. So we have hydrogen, which will power batteries. We have batteries, which we don't have enough lithium in the world to keep on going where we're going. So we're getting there, and we're in the middle of everything. So that's where we're going with the pushing electric. It is coming. Next week I have a Leaf, by the way, the new Leaf. So we'll get a good test of that next week for a whole week and see what that's like. Lucas says, "Hey Bob, I've been watching your reviews lately and I love them." Well, thanks very much. That's very good. I'm delighted. You can support the channel down below. Mick Mulcahy says, "Hi Bob, hi Mick." I had a spin in the RC350. Lovely car, needed a lot of euros. Another properly luxurious Lexus. Lexus are going the right way, but there's some things they need to change. That touchscreen in the middle, that thing that type or touchpad drives me up the wall. And he says, the more buttons, the better for me in a car. Have to be well designed and good positive touch feel though. Yeah, that's the problem with Opel, is that there's a lot of buttons in a very small space. So you have a lot of choices and you still have to look. You never really figure out where things are. Tom Crockett, welcome to the channel. Bob, if you had to get in a car in a company car scheme, would you go for a petrol or diesel? I currently do around 24,000 miles a year on a 50-50 mix of motorway and town driving. I'm leaning towards petrol. So, Tom, that's a really good question because you are a typical driver currently, right? A perfectly typical driver. I know that may sound like a horrible thing to say to you, that you're perfectly average Tom Crockett, but unfortunately you kind of are. And that's a good place to be. So 24,000 miles is about 30 to 31,000 kilometers. It's thereabouts. Or is it 28,000 kilometers? It's somewhere, it's in around the 30,000 kilometers. So you're on this perfect borderline of petrol, diesel, electric. The new Nissan Leaf will do that kind of mileage for you, but not all in one big gulp, right? So if you're doing a lot of motorway, a lot of this, a lot of that, all in one day, that's where it comes from. If you're doing short bursts, so if you're going from point to point, petrol is the way to do it. So if your average daily commute is 50 kilometers to 100 kilometers, petrol or electric, that's it. It's easy choice, right? If your average daily commute is 100 kilometers, then you're starting to lean into diesel. So in your mileage range, you have the choice of all three. And modern petrol cars will manage those mileages just as good as a modern diesel car. Modern diesel car will be slightly cleaner on CO2. It's lower CO2. I mean, EU6, like the current one. Modern petrols, slightly heavier on CO2, but less NOx. So it's the trade-off between the two. You'll get about the same fuel economy. And by the time this October comes, I think petrol, and this is only me talking off the top of my head here, I think petrol and diesel will be around the same price at the pumps. So you're not going to get any extra miles out of doing petrol or diesel. So the choice will be yours, really. But I would hesitate and go towards petrol. That'd be my thinking, just because of your kind of mileage, the way you asked that question. Lucas comes back with another question. I'm thinking of buying a Skoda this year. Skoda Octavia 2006, 2008. Would you recommend it? I always recommend Skodas. I seem to like all of the Skodas. Just good reasons behind every one of them. When you're going back 2006 to 2008, you're going to have to check all things are done properly. Make sure that the timing belt has been changed. Make sure it's got all of its service history. Don't rely on some guy going, "Oh, service to myself. Yeah, it's been great. No, I never wrote it down, but I heard." Just don't do that, okay? Make sure the car is checked. All cars, no matter the brand, can become a money pit when you buy the wrong one, particularly going back that level, right? If you're going back that far, look for a petrol one. Believe it or not, petrol ones will do better fuel economy. You'll be able to service it yourself as well, which is brilliant. You can always learn to service a car yourself. Is one of the best things you'll ever do. And you're going to get a decent spec on the car being that old as well. 2006, 2008, you're talking about, it's a 10-year-old car, give or take. But just make sure that everything's been done on it. All the big, heavy lifting has been done, like the time belt and everything else. But yeah, there's no problem recommending a car that old. Any car that old. Doesn't have to be that one. My God, I missed a pile of questions. You really launched into it today, boys. Make sure you click the like button, please. Everybody, I have to find out where I finished there. Des. About to power hose the car, Bob. Listen to Sunday service while non-metallic, a lot of work, but worth it. I power hosed the Lexus LC 500H the other day and washed the whole car down, and then it got dusty in about 4.7 seconds. So yeah, I feel your pain, boy. Just for filming, I did it, and then it was all covered in dust about 5 seconds later. From resale perspective, are you better off buying an SUV crossover rather than a hatchback saloon? Or do you think the market would be saturated with them in a few years? The market is saturated right now with SUVs. That's the problem, the small crossovers. You drive by any dealership right now and the front of the place is completely covered in Sportage, Qashqai, just any amount of them. They just seem to be all over the place. So the market is already saturated with them. And even in the Skoda Karoq video I did just like 3-4 days ago, I said the same thing. It's a great car, but it's lost in among all of the kind of small crossovers that are out there at the moment. All about the same price, all about the same availability. Now, the big thing is, will a saloon be a desirable car in 5 years' time? Don't know about that one. Hatchback has always been the king of sales. Always. It's always sitting up there. You look at the number one selling car in the country a couple of years ago was the Hyundai Tucson. That's because it just came out in the market. They flooded the market with it. The second place car was a Volkswagen Golf. So it's the 5-door hatch. And I think the third place was Ford Focus. And the fourth place was something else as well. I can't remember now, but they were all hatchbacks after that Hyundai. So 5-door hatch is always a guaranteed seller. The small SUV is always a guaranteed seller as well, but the value is starting to fall a little bit on because of market saturation. So the likes of the reassuringly expensive Nissan Qashqai with all that stuff, well, the market really isn't sustaining what Nissan Qashqai used to do because it had the market kind of to itself. But right now you can have a fairly new Hyundai, whatever that thing is called, a Tucson or something. You can have a Kia Sportage. They're all in that zone of resale. So if you don't buy a car because of how much you're going to get for it in a few years' time, because God knows what's going to be worth in a few years' time, actually. William Johnson says, as much as I don't like Opels, and believe me, I must admit they are making some fantastic looking cars. They do, yeah, absolutely. Opel make great looking cars. The Astra is probably one of my favorite of those hatchbacks that Opel have made over the last few years. Always kind of had a soft spot for the Corsa, particularly in its sort of SRI, the fancy mode. Or is it OPC now? OPC, that's the one, the fast one. But just the interiors always kind of annoyed me. And then there was always a point where I could never get comfortable behind a wheel, and you're too far back or too far forward. It's just really annoying. Brian Cullen, Bob, I just replaced my trusty Nissan Note with a 2012 Insignia. What did you mean to think it was uncomfortable? It's like a Rolls Royce to me, a billion times better in motorway than a Note. Nissan and Opel would be two very different cars to drive. Nissan Note is a very Japanese car, very clever, but quite plasticky inside and quite loud on the road as well. Whereas the Insignia was designed for sales reps, or designed for that kind of long haul business drive. So it is much quieter, massive boot. You know, they are a much better car. Comparing those two is very different, but just in the Insignia market, there's other cars that I think it might be better. Stigius says, Jesus Christ, first time I'm listening to this live, driving a 450-kilometer journey in Finland today. Thank you, Bob, for keeping me entertained on my long trips. No problem at all. I drove in Finland recently. That must be really entertaining. 450 kilometers of just pure white. James Dunn. I should have mentioned to me that James, the bus driver, stopped at the lights. I should have mentioned. It's me, James. There's James. Look, James, the bus driver stopped at the lights. Come on, James. Annie McAfee says, also click the share button and put on your own Facebook, etc. Help spread the word about Sunday service. Yes, thank you very much. Please do share it out as much as you possibly can, because it's very important that the audience comes. It's not because I don't love you guys. It's because I want more audience, obviously. And the more audience, then the more support you get. And the more support I get, the more money I get to spend on camera equipment and you know, mics and all these things I bought along the way, all that sort of stuff. Here we go. That have all come from you guys. So any support you can give, there are links down below for a PayPal, Patreon, Bitcoin, anything you want, whatever way you want to do it, can be arranged. And if you're a business, not a car company, you can help sponsor this channel as well, just like Clearwater.ie have done. John and his team down there for Clearwater have done for the last weeks, and My DIY before that, and JG Engineering before that. So they've all come and gone and come back again second time. So if you're a business, or you have a business, or you know a business that'd be interested in doing this, people like tire companies or windscreen companies or valeters or something, that sort of stuff. I like kind of local stuff. I'm not necessarily looking for Pirelli tires or something. Just the local guys. I like giving a shout out to the guys who are here in Ireland. It's brilliant. Two of my mates have them and never had an ounce of trouble with them. That's what's drawing me towards it. All right, the Opel Insignia. Yeah, well, they are like 100%. And I know like at least 4 or 5 people around here who have them and have never had a single problem with them. So I don't have a problem reliability-wise. They're going to be great for you. Actually, James Byrne, I was talking to him the other day. He's a cousin of mine. Kind of grew up with him. He drives an Insignia all the time. So, Any idea, Bob, why we can't get Infinity in Europe? That's just a choice of Infinity, the group. They just don't think there's a luxury market here for a Japanese style car. If you look at the American market, they managed to hold on to Hyundai as being a luxury brand over there. So when you think of it that way, you think of Hyundai being luxury. Over here, it's not treated as a luxury brand, even though they think themselves they are. Japanese models and Asian models or Southeast Asian models, like Korean models, things tend to sell well in America. So Infinity was created, is an Infinity Nissan, was created to be the luxury brand of the same model over there. And so they can have separate dealerships, they have everything separate over there. So it works for them in that case. But if Infinity came to Europe, I think the first thing the journalists here would do would go, it's Nissan. It's a fancy Nissan. Because we all know, but the Americans don't think about it like that. By the way, the car companies want to get rid of journalists in Europe as much as they possibly can this year. You see it. It's coming. Paul Collins. Good afternoon, Bob. I have a 2011 Insignia. It's all about the Insignia today. We're all doing well. Basic model, no Bluetooth. What are the chances installed and just requires a fuse you put in to make it work? Ooh, I would doubt it. Bluetooth does require a transmitter and receiver to be put into the stereo itself. So it would be unlikely that they've put in a stereo that would have a Bluetooth system installed in it that you could just turn on. So as an option, it was probably a different stereo. Now, it could be worth looking on some of the Opel forums. Look at Vauxhall forums in the UK. There'd very likely be a Vauxhall club there, be able to help you out very quickly and give you information about its spec sheet. You might be able to pop out the stereo and have a look at the back of it and get some serial numbers off the thing to see if it's got a Bluetooth system installed. If not, I do know for sure that Halfords have a replacement stereo, 100% replacement, and that goes into about 250 odd euro. And that will have Bluetooth, it'll have hands-free, it has the whole show. Nothing like refreshing your car like that just by changing the stereo and the speakers. You'd be surprised how fast that happens. But it is unlikely to be just a fuse that's gone off that the Bluetooth isn't working. It would be a transmitter receiver system that's been installed or not installed in this case to make the Bluetooth not work. Such a shame. 2011, I think at 2011, all cars should have Bluetooth as standard. i60 is a beautiful car. Yep. Bob, what do you think of a 4x4 2-litre VW T-Roc? A 4x4 VW? I think it's fairly small, Jack Nest. That would be the problem. T-Roc I think T-Roc is a lovely car. But I think it's a very specific market. Do you need a 4x4 for a start? A 2-litre version of the same thing. I mean, it's going to be very powerful, very big car. In that case, Skoda Karoq would be probably a more sensible option, bigger boot. The T-Roc is quite a small little boot. Nice, lovely car, very specific though. Sorry, I'm not trying to show you the armor all thing. Just take a drink. This is how I monitor how much water I drink in a day. I keep refilling that bottle, so I just drink 3 of those a day. Brian Cullen and everyone who sat in the Insignia remarked how comfortable it is. You normally talk. So I didn't say it wasn't uncomfortable. I work for a fairly large leasing company, and each day we do a report which tells us that what vehicle has broken down in the last 24 hours. Without a doubt, there's always an Insignia on it. The thing about that one, though, would be the Petrolhead 94, that if you look statistically of the amount of sales a car has, so if you look at, for instance, when you look at Toyota breaking down, and you see how many Toyotas have been sold versus how many Hondas have been sold, and Hondas don't break down very often. Right? The problem is the volume of cars that they have on the road. So it's the same for Opel. They sell a lot of Insignias, so you're very likely to see an Insignia on the list every single day. But if you're working for a leasing company, maybe that leasing company would like to sponsor this channel. Thought I might get that in there. Don't forget to click the like button, please. Mick Mulcahy. Hi, Bob. Has anyone noticed the shut lines between the panels and not the same gap size on one side or the other side of new 2018 Nissan Qashqai? I didn't notice it, but I wasn't looking at it that carefully. If your shut lines are off, generally speaking, anyone doesn't understand what a shut line is. So when you close a door on the front and the rear, there's a tiny gap runs down between the front and rear doors and where the doors close. It's called shut lines. It's the same all around the car. So the back bumper, back doors, the side doors, any doors that are on the car is all called shut lines. The bonnet would be the same as treated as a door. So the bonnet going up and down, the shut lines either side of that. So all the shut lines should be basically the same. And the finer the shut line, generally speaking, the more luxurious the car is, right? So if you listen to an Audi door closing or you listen to a Rolls-Royce door closing, you hear that very specific thunk as it closes. That has all to do with shut lines and displacement of air. A cheaper brand car, so a mass-produced car, will have a wider shut line because there's less tolerance involved in it. Now, that said, all the shut lines should be the same on the car. So the two doors on either side should basically shut at the same thing. You need a thing called, I think it's called a micrometer, is it? To measure the size of the shut line, sees it any different on either side. There may be a problem with your car if the shut lines are different, but it may also be just an adjustment that can be made by the dealership, but it's unlikely. So if the shut lines are off, the old way of telling if a car was crashed once upon a time was to check to make sure the shut lines were all exactly the same. If shut lines were off on one side versus the other, often the car was crashed because it deformed the shape of the car. So it's an awful problem. Des Byrne, I used to love my Opels in the 70s, but they're not, since they've lost their German toughness, nothing stays the same, which is interesting. Look at the rise of Skoda, Seat, Hyundai, etc. Yeah, the rise of any brand that breaks in will always take about 10 years to get there. Once it gets there, it starts to take over, and that's the end of it. Opel have been slipping for years due to lack of funding. That's how they got bought out by Peugeot. Just GM nearly screwed them over as well. So there's an awful lot of toing and froing with Opel over the years. Hopefully it will land somewhere good now with Peugeot money, but I'm not sure even that's a good fit for them. It's a French brand. The French and the Germans don't tend to get along very well when it comes to car manufacturing. There's been a lot of duplications of jobs. I hear 7,000 jobs are massively at risk in the UK now from Nissan. You think that Vauxhall will be thinking about doing the same thing. A lot of duplications of jobs there. So there's a lot of problems facing Opel and Vauxhall worldwide. Hopefully they will find their feet and get moving again. And instead of trying to make kind of half German, half European, looking cars, they should just concentrate and make some good cars. Something we can all talk about. Something interesting. Brian Cullen says, hi, Paul. RE, your 2011 Insignia. Are you sure it has Bluetooth? Some Insignias have all phone buttons and only works via USB. So there you go. Might not have had Bluetooth to begin with. Oh my God, this thing skips forward sometimes. I'm just going to scroll through all of the things, and then it goes, and it's at the bottom. There's a lot of questions, lads, I have to say. Work for Fairly, I did that one. Use my Opels, I did that one. I'm nearly there. Gearbox issue. Coolant systems, major engine faults, and that's what ahead of you if you buy an Insignia. There's a reason it worth nothing secondhand. That's a fairly dim approach of Opels. But like I say, we're back to the same thing. Opel sells a lot of cars. Opel have a lot of users who stay on the road 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like taxi drivers, like sales reps. They just keep going and going and going and going and going the whole time. So they tend to break down a lot. I don't know if they're recalls or they're more unreliable than any other brand. I'm not sure. But I know two mates of mine who've had an Insignia for the last 2 years and have had zero problems with them. So there's both sides of those coins. Barry McMahon, I'm thinking of buying an Auris 1.3 2014, low mileage. What do you think? Is there anything to look out for? There'll be very little kit in it, Barry, so no, not really. Just make sure, same again, that the timing belt has been done, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. Might not be due yet, but it might be worth investigating as well. Have a history check done. Make sure the car has a history, service history behind it. It's vital information. Honest to God, tells you all you need to know about the car straight away when you find out about its history. So check that. There shouldn't be any problem. It should drive well. They're very light cars. Ours is a pretty good car. I mean, it's very reliable. A petrol engine is really no problem with that at all. Jack Nest, I answered that. Someone with a Japanese name just says, I'm Japan. Japan is in the house. There we go. Thanks very much, Japan. The Saint ST1. Problem with new diesels. You have to blast it for 50 miles to give the DPF a good chance to regenerate. Diesels make sense for long distance daily driving, but certainly not a good idea for city driving. Currently, say the last 2 years, that's kind of changed. They've lowered the temperature. They put in the AdBlue thing has gone into it as well. So there's a bit of a difference in the very modern diesels, like EU 6 or 7, whatever one we're on now. So they are a little bit different. But yes, unless you're going to drive long goes over long distances, diesels don't make a lot of sense. Damien says, I bought a 152 Discovery 4, 33,000 miles on the clock. What do you think, Bob? I think it's going to break down. I think at the moment Land Rover are in a bit of a hassle. No, actually, a Discovery will keep on trucking pretty much forever. But when something goes wrong with a Discovery, it tends to be really catastrophically wrong. Things like air suspension goes, things like the gearbox, the whole gearbox goes, it tends to be something quite catastrophic and quite expensive to fix. But when they work, they're a very Friday cars. Like the last car that was made on a Friday before the lads go home for the weekend on the plant, right? He's in a hurry out. It's the last car off the line sort of thing. You can get one that will go forever and never give a single day's worry. And you get the flip side of that where the car does nothing but give you a hassle. So hopefully you bought the right one of those. But Discovery 4 is a lovely car. They're very nice to drive. One of my favorite cars is Range Rover, Land Rover stuff. Definitely right up there. But just make sure you're servicing it well. Make sure you're looking after that gearbox. Check that air suspension. Have it all checked over. Make sure it's all good. Because when it goes wrong, it gets expensive. Bob, do you have any experience with ceramic coatings? If so, what do you think of them? No, I don't have any experience. Ceramic coatings on the outside of what? What are you putting ceramic on? Hard to put it on the car. Yes, ceramic's very heavy. No, I don't have any. No. Russ Cattle. A bit late, asked Bob after you bought it to Damien. After you brought it to Damien. Right, I don't know what that means. Sorry, Russ. Skoda Superb is a 5-door hatch because it's simply clever. There you go. Mandy McAfee. See that? 5-door hatch. John McGarvey. Hi, Bob. Love the Sunday service. I love it too. Did you ever see the new book on Irish Motor Assembly from 1992? Hold on. I got sent it. Yes, I did see it, John McCarthy. Yeah. I have read it right here. So this is a book by Bob Montgomery. I'm not sponsored by this, by the way. I was at his book launch the other day and I got one of these. It's not a signed one. I got a sort of a preamble copy one sent out to me. Because I'm trying to do a documentary on basically the same thing on car manufacturing in Ireland, but on particular brands. So it's a really good book if you're kind of an Anaraki type person and you like the idea behind this. But if you start reading into this and start looking through it, all of these brands are manufactured here or assembled here in Ireland. Bad word to say, manufacturing. And we're talking about like Graham, Henkel, Hudson, just flicking through some of the names like Studebaker. They were all put together here in Ireland. And that does make this a very interesting documented book. The ones we know about are ones who survived, the ones that's still around. But the basic gist of it is that our old Taoiseach back then, so the idea was if you wanted to sell cars in Ireland, you had to assemble them here. That was the rule. It was a very simple rule. It sounds really simple until you realize that there's actually a market for cars here and you could generate jobs very quickly by assembling the cars in this country. So that was the rule. Now, the rule changed years after, but it stayed around from the very beginning to keep people manufacturing in this country. And it was a really good rule, but the rule was destroyed. And that ended this. Once that rule changed, it ended all of car manufacturing. The last cars that were manufactured or assembled in this country was Mazda's. The Mazda 323 was manufactured here in Dublin. In the same plant as Mercedes and the same plant as Volkswagen. And Ford in Cork was one of the last ones to shut a store. But this is a really good read. If you can pick up a copy of it, you can get it. I need this one. I only got one, so I need this one for a bit of research at the moment. Once I finish research, I might give this away. It is a good read, yeah. So Bob Montgomery, Motor Assembly in Ireland, it's called. You can buy it at your local bookshop. It is there. Arvin says, hello, Bob. Good evening. Want to join the service a bit early today. By the way, how many gears did you have in the Lexus which you drove? It has 10 gears. It is 2 gearboxes and 10 gears. So it has a CVT gearbox, and on the back of that CVT gearbox is a kind of a truck box. It's an automatic 4-speed. And so it gives it 10 gears in a kind of a weird way. John McGarvey asked that question 3 times. Kyle says, Subaru. I love that one. There's no context. Just says Subaru. That's that. Yes, I will be driving Subarus this year. Subaru Ireland has been on to me and trying to get me to drive the new Impreza, I think, and something else. So I will book in some Subarus. I am booking in some Fiats and Jeeps and things as well, some more unusual brands. So we're going through a spit, a lot of cars this year. And of course, Irish Car of the Year is on this year again. And I'm the chairperson. And it's the big event, and I have a lot of plans on that one. So we're putting it together now, right now. So the list will appear apparently. Steve Mangan says, I'm strongly thinking of getting the 2013 Octavia VRS. Any tips or anything I should look out for? Plus, what do you think of them? I think the Octavia VRS or RS is actually, that's not a V. It's meant to be like a bird. But anyway. The Octavia RS is a gorgeous car. Now, if you can get it in a state form with the roof rails on the top and the nice alloys, it looks like a rally support car or something. DSG is gorgeous on them as well. Don't get the big alloys. There's a big set. I can't remember if they're 18s or 19s. There's a big set of alloys. They look great, but they actually increase the road noise quite a bit. Try and get the smaller, slightly smaller alloys, like 16s or 17s. They're nicer. Nothing really to look out for. They're ultra reliable. It's Skoda. Like, what's going to go wrong? It's a Volkswagen Group car. It's the same thing. So you're going to have the same engines. So no problem getting service around. But really good car. Yes, honest to God. George Websell says, his answer, look at this. See, this is the community we have here. People are talking to one another around the edge of things. It's gorgeous. You can support this community as much as you possibly can. It'd be brilliant. There are links down below for Patreon, PayPal, and all the rest of them. And you can also do super chats here on YouTube if you want as well. Just click the little dollar sign at the bottom, and you can support it that way. This comes out as a podcast as well. There is a link down below for that one. It comes out on Podbean. It comes out on TuneIn Radio has taken it as well. iTunes have it. I think it's going on to Spotify at some point. Spotify are only starting out with podcasts, but they're after asking if they can take it. It's as popular, if not more. It's actually a little bit more popular. About 3,000 downloads on podcasts. This has gotten the Sunday service on a podcast form. So it's fairly crazy at the moment. I get so many emails now per week just from the podcast, and the thing is kind of crazy because you can't answer questions on a podcast because it's recorded. I didn't know, George Websell, I did not tell you not to buy an Octavia. What I said was, or not an Octavia, an Insignia. I said that there are other cars out there you could choose just as easy. Petrohead says, I wish my insurance company would allow me to have a VRS. Yeah, that's true. Debadge it and just call it a Skoda Octavia. Bob, why do you not do commercial breaks to support your sponsors? Because it's a live stream. I can't do commercial breaks. I just don't agree really with the idea of commercial breaks in the middle of the live stream. I do the live stream for you guys. This Sunday service has been a relationship between me and you guys rather than me and sponsors. The sponsor bit is more about the videos during the week where I can put in a little insert at the beginning or in the middle or at the end and give the sponsor a good shout out, because the channel has always been about the end user, the consumer, the petrol head, the person out there. This channel has always been for them. I have never taken a side of a car company, and I've never taken a side of a dealership or nothing like that, which is probably why I don't quite fit into the little boxes that people try and make for motoring journalists. So I'm not really a yes man. And so it's always been about the people who watch this on the service rather than making money from it. All the money that has come in has been reinvested into equipment, into time, into editing, into software, into whatever. And the users here have supported that more than any sponsors. Sponsors only have started in the last couple of months. So that's only a relatively new thing. And it's kind of something I'm experimenting with. If I get around to the point where I think the sponsor thing could work and I can take away asking people to donate their money, because I prefer their money, because I prefer the little hundreds of people giving £2 each is a better thing than dealing with Tesco, or I don't know, Pirelli tires or something come along and give you 50 grand and suddenly you're sold out, you're done, you're finished, you're stuck with Pirelli or you're stuck with whoever it is. So I prefer the little donations are much more elegant in that way. And plus people feel like they're investing themselves in it, which is even better. Because this is all about the people out there, not about me or about cars. Andy says Dacia Sandero Ambience even has Bluetooth DAB and aircon as standard now. So shame all the mainstream manufacturers still fail to put those not only in their base spec models. I remember back in 2012, I think it was, I sent an email to Audi Ireland, who at the time was run by an Australian chap, and said that I found it very disappointing that the Audi A1 hadn't got Bluetooth as standard. That was an optional extra at the time. And that email triggered all Audis to get Bluetooth in this country. So that was Audi at the time, but I don't know about the rest of them. Goddamn thing after hopping up the screen again. Pardon me, I'm scrolling back up trying to find out where I was when that thing just decided to scroll to the bottom of the screen in a blink of an eye. Here we are. God, when I asked the Insignia earlier, I didn't know it was a topic of the day. Yeah, you see, Insignia's just gone mad. My daughter has bought a 2009 Fiesta, nice and clean, smooth engine. What do you think of? I like Fiesta. Always like Fiesta. The older ones are prettier looking, funny enough. There was a Fiesta Steel, which is just such a pretty car to look at. It was just perfect. And then they messed it up. But the Fiesta is quite a nice little car. Yes, always a good or reliable Lumpford thing. That's why they end up as hire cars. It's not a bad thing to say that they end up as hire cars. They buy them as hire cars because they're reasonably priced and they're nearly indestructible. And he says, I was in County Monaghan yesterday and noticed an RSA-looking sign up saying something along the lines of driver CCTV is watching you. Have you seen these? I'm assuming it means dash cam. No, I ain't seen them. But generally speaking, a dash cam is not really admissible as evidence. I mean, it's up to the judge. That's to say there isn't legislation forbidding CCTV to be used, but it can be up. The judge can say, no, I'm not taking CCTV or I'm not taking dash cam footage in the evidence room. So that can happen as well. Make sure you click the like button, everybody. We're 45 minutes in and we have 74 likes. So hit that like button. Go on, hit it, and smash it to bits like. You can also support channel down below. So I always throw that in just in case somebody's out there joining and fancies giving us a tenner or something, Jack Ness says the reason for the 4x4 is because that's like Jack, hold up. Put it all in one comment and put it in. There's millions of questions now. I mean, there's millions and I'm catching up. Martin Pitt says, hi, Bob. I'm from the UK. I branded my E-Class Mercedes last year based on your review. Good man. E-Class, a really good car. Took delivery of one the first into the UK and nearly 2 years on and not a single problem with it. You see, I always give the best advice. E-Class is one of the finest cars you can buy at the moment. You may think it's an old man's car until you get in it and you experience it. A good, well-spec'd up E-Class, spend your money on it. It's like buying a damn good suit. Really happy to E-Class. Mercedes haven't managed to bring out another car that matches what the E-Class does. I just think they were on a winner there when I got the E-Class done. There is a video on my channel, full review on my channel of the newer E-Class, and you can see how quiet it is in the car, how luxurious the cabin feels for just what amounts to be a four-door saloon. It's a gorgeous car. I would probably buy an estate one, but I'd definitely buy an automatic anyway, whatever happens. To be honest, now it's been mentioned, I've never in my life seen an Insignia taxi on the road. I have. There's one here in Portlaoise. Seen it down a couple of times. Actually, shout out to another guy in Portlaoise who drives a Nissan Leaf taxi because he waited me the other day and up and down. I think he watches the stream as well, as far as I know. Had two rentals last week. A 418 BMW, nice. 2018 Nissan Qashqai, a boring with a capital B. Qashqai is what a Qashqai needs to be. But a 418 BMW is actually, yeah, they're nice. 4 Series, quite nice. Little bit on the pricey side, but not a bad car. Craig says, thanks, Bob. Last weekend, I asked your opinion on a 1.4 TSI Octavia. Good. That's a good question. That's a good car. Purchase on Tuesday. Nippy, 40 plus miles per gallon. Great engine. See, I never lie. I'm always right. Great engine. Glad I asked your opinion. Oh, I survived a 0-star crash safety Punto. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Poor old Punto. 0 stars in the NCAP rating. Happy with your 1.4 TSI. It's a great engine. It's a really good cylinder shutdown thing. It's a very clever engine. You will get 40 plus miles per gallon out of it easily. Okay, so Jack has come to one question now. The reason for the 4x4 is because we only sell the 4x4 2-litre T-Roc in Ireland. VW only sell the 4x4 2-litre T-Roc in Ireland. Huh? I don't. They definitely sell a smaller. I drove the 1 liter or the 1.5 TSI, which was a 2-wheel drive. So I've driven that one as well. I haven't driven a 4x4 2-liter T-Roc in Ireland. I don't think. No, I don't think I have. Number Q. Hi Bob. What do you think of the BMW 316 diesel? 2012 Auto SE Saloon for sale in local tier 14,000. That's a lot of money for a 316. I don't think. No, yeah, good car, right? So if it's rear-wheel drive, not 4-wheel drive, so not that crazy 4 thing that the BMW have. If it's a 2-wheel rear-wheel drive one, you're getting into the right place, sort of. But a 316, the diesel version of it, it doesn't really have a good torque band. It's quite loud when you're driving along as well. They're okay. But a 3 Series kind of compromised over time. I like them, but I don't like them in the same time because there's a 4 Series exists, and that's quite nice. And in that same range, you got an Audi A4, which is a very good car, but only in Quattro. And then the Mercedes C-Class, which is a really good car, pleasant thing, very reliable. There's a lot of choices in that range. And while I know 14 grand may sound like a good buy, you will find that car 14 grand pretty much everywhere at that kind of money or that kind of year, 2012. But they're a lovely car. If you can be proud driving it, you'll be okay with it. But 316 would be the lowest. Okay, so 316, 318, 320, you know, all the way up along. 316 is like the entry level of BMW. You're not going to get much kit in that. You get more kit than a Ford Mondeo than you will in that thing. So just remember that it's 14 grand for a reason. It's the entry level one. Not trying to put you off it, Niall. Really, if you like your BMWs, you're sorted. But if you're hesitant or on the fence at all or looking around, see what else you can get for 14 grand in 2012, and you suddenly find out there's an awful lot of stuff out there. Hi Bob, collected an ML, this is Paul Anderson 250 Blue Tech next week. 55,000 kilometers, full Mercedes service history. What do you think? Been a Honda owner the last 17 years. Collected an ML 250 Blue Tech. Yeah, ML is a gorgeous car. Really, really gentle, wafty feel about the whole car, but yet it feels like it'll climb Everest at the same time. It's a really serious piece of machinery. Same problem with that, Paul, as I was saying about Land Rover earlier on. When something goes wrong with an ML, it tends to be catastrophically wrong. It tends to have a cascade effect. Make sure you're 100% happy with the car before you take delivery. Even if you pay deposit and everything else, just be aware that the bigger the car, the more luxurious the car, the more expensive it is to run. Go off and find out the price of tires. Usually is a good indicator on the car, right? So if you think a car is going to be trouble, just price a set of tires for the wheels and just see if it's anything over 100 quid a corner. You know, it can get expensive very quickly. But ML is a good car, 250 Blue Tech. It'll run forever. The engine's going to be great. Electrical problems were a problem with the ML for a little bit, but I'm sure it won't be on yours. Not sure if you know, Bob, but all of the stainless steel panels for the DeLorean and MIF were made in Lapel in Carlow. Were they in Carlow? I thought it was made in Northern Ireland. Oh, yeah, well, maybe. Yeah, that's true. They're probably made all over Ireland. There's still pieces of the dashboard from the Golf 7 that's made by a company in Galway. And there's a company in Cork that makes some of the electronics for Volkswagen as well. Electronic stuff, the dashboard stuff. So now, Sword says, are you in Manhattan? No, not unless Portlaoise has become part of Manhattan. Or you can, oh, we do have Manhattan popcorn over here. Oh, I'm in Ireland. CD Model says, and the tools to make the panels were also made in Carlow. Must check that out, actually, DeLorean stuff. I know DeLorean's got a great history behind it. That book looks a good read. Where can I get it? In the local petrol station, in the local bookshop. Does it say on it? There's an IBSN code in the back. If that's any good to anybody, you want to write that down, which will allow you to go into Eason's to find out what the status of the book is. But as far as I know, it's in every bookshop at the moment. You can buy it anywhere. No, I don't think it's online, but I don't think it's in Amazon, right? But you can buy it there. And it's published by that crowd. I don't know what the hell that name is. What is that? Drellolin. Published by them. Bob Montgomery, Motor History Assembly in Ireland. There's a good forward at the beginning of it as well. And then registration figures and stuff. But like there's good pictures in it as well. Old Anglia pictures. That's the Marina assembly plant assembling Ford Anglias in Dublin. So you can see Ireland had a massive history of assembling cars. Massive history. But anyway, I'm trying to do a documentary on that as well, which is running aground because I can't get funding for it. Nobody wants to fund it. Nobody wants to fund it. But it'll be huge. Also not sure you're aware of the Aurora Auto launch. Never heard of that. Bob, thanks for reply. Very nice. No problem at all. Arvind. There's lots of car companies in Carlow. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Hi, Bob. For disabled people like me, SUV best option. They're what? Well, yes and no. But depending on your disability. If you've got a hip problem, so if you've got walking and hip problems, then what I would term is slidey in and out car. So a car relatively around the same height as your hips. So what you do is you stand beside the car you're looking at, open the door, and the seat bottom, the bench, shouldn't be taller than around your knee. And then the back of the seat shouldn't be higher than your shoulder when you're standing beside the car. That way you're going to slide in. So you won't actually have to get down into a car. You're kind of going slightly uphill to get into the car. And if legs are your problem, if below the hip disability is the problem, or just reduced mobility. The best car, I remember the best car in the market once upon a time, it's gone now, which was the Ford C-Max, was the best car for hip problems that I'd ever seen, because it's almost perfectly straight across. So when you get in, you just got in straight across on top of yourself. So that was probably the best option. But SUVs at the moment would have the slightly high driving position. So if you have problems getting in and out of a car and you don't want to get downhill, then small SUVs or SUVs in general, like the T-Roc, like the Karoq, they're really good cars at that kind of height. 2013 Skoda Octavia RS mentioned will be... skip forward again. Thanks very much there, Google. God, I wish Google would sort that out. Whether a Mark II, Mark III, this was the transition year between them. Mark II's had Dieselgate recall and is worth researching. This fix has been applied. Yeah, make sure you do that as well. 2013 onwards is where Dieselgate came out of. Make sure all the recalls done. It's all up to date. Bob, what reviews have you got lined up in the coming weeks? Will you review the Opel Grandland X at all? I have. Yes, I filmed the Opel Grandland X, but I had a little piece of kit stolen on me from a bag. Somebody walked away with a camera belonging to me. And in the meantime, that camera had a little bag of SD cards in it. And it was backups. And the backups that have gone was a Honda Civic Diesel, Opel Grandland X, and a Peugeot 5008. There's 3 reviews on an SD card that have been stolen. So they're gone. I'm going to have to get the cards again. So the only thing I have is kind of exterior footage of a Grandland X from the drone, which doesn't help because it's not the interior stuff. There's absolutely bag loads of reviews coming up, including that Lexus is outside the door. It will be reviewed. What else we got coming? So Nissan Leaf is next week. Fiesta ST line is next week as well. Skoda Karoq. Oh, I did the Skoda Karoq. That's done. Volvo XC40 is on the way as well in a couple of weeks. Volkswagen T-Roc petrol I'll have out. That's, I think, going to be the next video out. Mercedes-Benz E-Class Cabriolet will be the video after that, I think. What else do we have? Did all that. Audi A8 is out already. North. Oh, I'm doing a thing called the Norse Raid in Wicklow. If anyone wants to join out there, I'm taking a classic car and we're going to drive all over the country. But it's called the Norse Raid 2018. Norse Wicklow Raid 2018, right? You can find tickets for it available on, I think it's Eventbrite has the tickets, or get in touch with them. If you look on Twitter, you'll find Leon Nulty on Twitter. He's organizing the whole thing. And talk to him and mention my name and you get a little discount, right? It's not sponsored, by the way. God, I have to mention all this bleeding sponsorship crap all the time. Anyway, so there's loads of videos coming up and I have loads more ahead as well. I'm booked out with cars until July, August, something like that. Wizardon. Hi, Bob. The Nissan has made a statement yet about RapidGate. There's rumours that Nissan are starting to install a battery management system for the 40 kilowatt Leaf. I don't know, Brendan. I asked Nissan, right? And the problem seems to be if you want to travel a very long way in a short space of time, and you want to supercharge or fast charge all the way there. After 2 fast charges, it won't take a third one at fast charge rate because it doesn't have a cooling system to cool the batteries down. Now, Nissan hasn't made an official statement as to whether it's a problem or not a problem, but it seems to be a problem for some people. Now, I don't know anyone who's rapid charged a car twice on the same journey, right? Because that seems like a long way. I've driven a Nissan Leaf all the way from Dublin to Wicklow and back on one charge. No problem. The thick end of 200 kilometers. So, and I came in with like 40% or 30% of the battery left. I still have loads of power left. So there's no real official, we're fixing it or not fixing it. Maybe if they bring a fix for it, it's going to change it. I don't know. I don't see any slowdown in the want for a Nissan Leaf out there at this moment. So I don't know. John McGarvey, what classic car would you buy for 5K? You're not going to get much of a classic car for 5K, to be honest with you. You're going to get something that's going to be a wrecker. Anything really good in classic car stuff is always generally 5 upwards. So you're going to get something about around 10K, you know, like Ford Caprice or any sort of stuff. Unless you can find something that really needs a lot of work, John. If you're looking for something to take out on the weekends, you could do worse than getting something from the 80s, like a Ford Fiesta, something that was easy to maintain at the time anyway. You can pick up a fairly clean one of those for 3.5 to 4 grand. A Mark II Golf, You could go back, ones that don't hold their value very well, which has always been cheap, something like a Morris Minor, where you can, if you really want to go down a classic car route, you can get something really old in a Morris Minor for under 5k. You're going to have to put a little bit of work into it, but there's still easy, reliable stuff, just very easily stolen. Don't forget that. But a pint of oil every once in a while in a Morris Minor, it'll never stop. Great cars. That's why they're so cheap, because there's no work in them, nothing to do with them. But there's not much out there really for 5k these days. There's a lot of business, a lot of cars being traded back and forward, and the price has gone up on an awful lot of them, because a lot of them just fall by the wayside or been exported from the country, which is worse again. Car manufacturing should come back to Ireland for Europe to export. If they had any sense at all, yes. Unfortunately, we're no longer a manufacturing country, which means we don't, all that experience, all those managing directors, all those guys who are involved in all that are on their last legs. And there's no better way of saying it. They're all dying at this stage, those guys who have that experience. I know, because for my documentary, I'm trying to get in touch with some of the MDs, the people who were in charge of these companies at the time. And it's amazing to find out some of them are in nursing homes. It's like time is pressing on. And I'd love to fund that documentary in a very short space of time, but I do need a crew. This isn't something I can do on my own. I need a researcher. You need these people. You can't just ask people to do things for free all the time. You have to try and get people paid for stuff. So we're trying to nail it down. We will get there. We will get there, I'm hoping. Trying to nail it down over the next few weeks and get moving on before it's too late and before we lose the information I'm trying to get. And we just left down to someone like Bob Montgomery and his documentation of the whole thing. The video of you driving the Lewis during the week was an interesting insight into what you think it was hard to drive. No, I'd say it's fairly straightforward to drive now. But, you know, if you create a job and a lad goes in and does the job and he's offered a certain round number of money and he starts to do that, and then he goes, I'm not doing any more until they give me more money. Well, then you're going to give him more money. That's it. It's a great job. We can all resent these people for having a job, or we can all celebrate how clever they were to get the right job that pays so much money for doing so little. It looks like a lovely job to do, actually, to be honest with you. You just kind of cruise along the lines. The only thing is you would have to keep your eyes open, because I was looking at how broad the whole train feels when you're going along and how close you get to the pedestrians. They're only inches from the side of the train when you're going along. So it's a very responsible job, but it is very high pay for what appears to be very nice work, you know. While at the same time, I saw a Lewis driver come out the other day about getting a guy off the train, and I don't know how to put up with that. Honest to God, there are scumbags in this country, and they're Irish, for anyone who opens their mouth, getting on and off that Lewis, terrify you. Just they're Conor McGregor idiots looking up to this fool, this multimillionaire throwing stuff at buses. But anyway, I would love to be a Lewis driver. I'd actually love to be a bus driver, but I'd love to be a Lewis driver. It'd be lovely. Money for all rope. But at the same time, I celebrate the fact that they got their way, they got their raise. It was bang on. It was brilliant, perfect. They got plenty of money for doing it. So, but it was very interesting listening to the lads up there. I was really interested in the control room. There's like 4 lads in the control room, and they control everything that happens on a Lewis by hand, so to speak. There's no automated thing. The radios and the radio back and forth between the drivers and the lads tell about breaking down. And I could see what happens when one of the Lewis, a door got stuck on it and they had to bring it back to the station to get it sorted. So it really interesting time I had there. Bob, but for the 2-minute break, you'll give us all a break to have a coffee. You can run some ads and go for your channel. I'd love to, but I need ads as well, Noah. See, the thing is, you need to have, if someone wants to put ads on the channel, if there was a time where someone said to me, they wanted to sponsor the Sunday service, 100%, they want to sponsor their 2 or 3 businesses get together, small businesses get together, and sponsor the Sunday service on its own, I would put in insert ad break here sort of thing. Yes, no problem at all, because then it would make sense. But for the sake of Clearwater.ie is a great, but he prefers to have the mentions that I give in this, these live mentions that are better than the link down below and all. That works better for him. So I always do what the advertiser wants to do, and I always do what's best for what you guys are watching and why you guys are here. The reason this is the biggest live stream in Ireland is because of the way I approach it, and the way it's turned into a podcast afterwards works to be a sort of a radio station podcast. So there's a clever way out of it, and I'm not too sure what that's going to be, but we will morph into something along the way. I think it seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger every single week, so I'm quite happy with that. Column F. Here's one for you. Mad Cow Bypass, where the new road surface is quieter because it has rubber element in the surface. It also has lower rolling resistance, hence the better fuel consumption in that section. That's actually a test that's going on. Yeah, I've seen that. And I've seen the same thing in Germany. They're testing different kinds of road surfaces, how it behaves over time. So replace a little bit of the road surface, let you drive over it and over it and over and over to see if it just fails over time. So we see what happens. We see what happens over that time, but yeah, that is happening all across the country. Sorry, I was looking at something else there. That is happening all across the country. There's little tiny sections. It's on the N7 as well. Just on there's a bit after, just before Newbridge, there's a section, like a maybe 500-meter section that's got this new surface, ultra quiet when you drive over it. It's also about, so cars on an Autobahn at normal speeds do about 75 decibels, which is very loud. When a car is going flat out, that is much higher. It's 100 to 120 decibels, which is unacceptable level of volume. So they're trying to find ways of the road surface and the tires to be quieter without losing grip. Bob, YouTube have set a limit of how much text you can write now. I know, yeah, I know. But it also means that I don't get a question that goes on as long as your arm. So that happens too. Hi, Bob. Do you still think the 1.5 TSI Skoda Karoq is a good car? Thanks, Andy. Yes, I do, Andy. I had one a couple of weeks ago. Really, really nice. Good torquey engine. Perhaps not as fuel efficient as the diesel one, but that's what's going to happen. You know, you're gonna get that kind of point. Plus, we're changing how we measure fuel economy this year, so the fuel measurements don't really work out anymore. It's going to be done by a different system, which is going to sort them in from the boys, lads. When that comes out, everyone's going to look like they have crap fuel consumption. Kyle says, what would be a good first car? The cheapest possible thing you can find. That would be a good first car. The cheapest, smallest engine, most fuel efficient thing you can possibly find, because once you buy a car, you will never unbuy a car. And once you buy it, especially as a first-time driver, you're probably going to crash it at some point. And I don't mean a big crash. I mean little dings, little dents, little marks, little this, little that. So buy something that's really, 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 really cheap, because you're going to pay a fortune in insurance anyway. And just drive it till it self-destructs someday. And learn everything about it. Learn how to service it, learn how to change your tires, learn how to check all the fluids, learn how to check everything in the car. Don't think that you get away with it. Just, oh, it'll be grand. Just open the bonnet once every 2 years. Just check everything, because if you check everything, you learn an awful lot, and then you learn how to fix things. You get a bit of DIY stuff. By the way, a big question for you all. Would you like a video on how to service a car? I mean, actually service my own car. So I could probably make a video on how to change the oil, or the oil filters, or the air filters, or something under the engine. Leave a comment there. Let me know if that's what you want me to do, and we'll see if we can do a video on that. And second question, would you like me to review some classic cars? You know, maybe not even classic, just older, used cars, something used, something that's, you know, even 2005, 2006, 2007, somewhere off back that direction. Would you be interested in that sort of stuff? Just thinking ahead for the future is all. I'm just trying to put out there and see what happens. Oh, jump forward again. Here we go. Hi, Bob. What do you think about the Audi A4 Avant 2-liter TDI 2007? Is there problems with the engine? After 2008, 2-liter TDI is better than lower 2008. Well, 2007 will be the old, if this is Ireland you're talking about, it'll be the old tax band we had here. So it'll be based on a 2-liter TDI engine size. After 2008, you're based on CO2 emissions. So you're in between the two. The CO2 emissions will be lower, obviously, so you get lower tax over that time. Not really any problems with the engine. Just watch for blue smoke out of the back that is not burning oil. They do tend to get that way when they get older, the older Volkswagen, Audi engines. So be aware of the smoke. Be aware. Look at your NCT. Look at the sheet itself and check the CO2 emissions on that. Make sure there's no brake imbalances. The usual sort of stuff you do, because you're talking about a 11-year-old car there. So just be aware that it's going through 11 years of hardship. You are also moving into 1 year NCT time as well. So you'll get an NCT every year on that one. So just bear in mind it's going to get expensive if things go wrong. W.H. Hi, Bob. Upgraded to the new 172 Civic 1.5S. Really missing the versatility of the magic seats. Yeah, why did they take out the magic seats out of the Civic? Another reason I don't like the Civic. The wide opening doors, looking to get those features back. How do you rate a 182 HRV petrol? Honda over-engineer everything. It's a great phrase out there. I think it's sometimes, to some degree, it's got a lot of crap, but they do engineer a lot of stuff, right? And the HR-V is a lovely car. Their petrol engines are superior to the diesel engines. Their diesel engines are really fuel efficient. I did the 1.6 liter diesel recently. I did nearly 1,100 kilometers on one tank of fuel. Amazing thing. But I don't know why they took out the magic seats. It was an amazing feature of the whole car. It was brilliant. They're gone now. But the HR-V is a really good car. Yeah, nice little car. Good runabout. If you get over the looks, I wouldn't be too keen on how it looks, but the rest of it is absolutely fine. I don't like the look of the Civic either, so that's just me. Konstantinos. Hi, Bob. I'm getting mine 2015 BMW 640D Grand Coupe tomorrow. I saw your two reviews on the Grand Coupe more than 10 times each. What's your opinion on the Grand Coupe today? Lovely car. Still a gorgeous car. My love of it has been it's been shoved down a little bit because of what Audi's doing right now. Audi A8 has shot to the top just because I absolutely adore driving that one, but the newest one of all. At the same time, I still think that the Grand Coupe is a gorgeous car. I still see even Generation 1, the 640 diesel Generation 1. Every time, once in a while, I see them on the roads. Looks gorgeous. You're going to love the car, particularly in the sport mode. You put on that kind of noisy engine. It's just gorgeous. A lovely car. But just for today, Euro Millions money, again, my list starts with Audi A8, Audi RS3 is in there as well, a Volkswagen California or another camper van, somewhere in that region. So they're like my top 3 buys, and all of them from the Volkswagen group. Nothing new about that. After that, you're into ordinary cars. Drellolin Publications, at Drellolin Publications on Facebook. So they are on Facebook. The publishers of this book are on Facebook, says Sean O'Neill Bud. Drellolin Publications, there it is. I think you can see that there on the top of the screen. And I already gave you the IBAN number, which is there as well. So the IBSN number is 978-1-902773-35.3. It's probably in Eason's. It's got a barcode on the back of it, so it's definitely on sale in the shops. So you can get it there. I didn't even ask for sponsorship money. I should have asked. I should have asked for $5 or $6 to give away or something. Brian Cole says, Bob, for the chap with the disability, the Nissan Note pre-2013 version or the Opel Vauxhall Meriva post-2010 version are 2 good models. There you go for the disability thing. So 2 extra models there for disability. Shame on whoever low life stole your kit. Yeah, I know. But look, it happens. I wish them luck. I hope they get the best work they can possibly get out of it. I hope it earns them money or something. And someday in the future, they'll return it to me thinking, God, that lad's after sorting me out. But it was the SD cards. Kit can be replaced. That's kit. That's what happens. You turn your back for like a millisecond and things go missing. But kit can be replaced. The problem is the footage can't. I can't replace the footage. I have to film the cars again. So it's kind of put a torpedo into the side of me having enough footage to be able to get a week off. That was the whole point. Bob, what are your thoughts on what you've seen so far about the new Ford Focus? I think it looks like a Hyundai i30. I also think it looks like a Korean car, not like a European car. But then I'm only kind of looking at 1 or 2 colors. Haven't seen it in the metal. I'd have to drive it to really understand. But so far, I think it's polarizing. I think the look of the car kind of polarizes, whereas the current model Ford Focus, everybody kind of likes it. You know, it's not a look that's going to upset anybody. Whereas the look now is sort of dramatic looking. So it'll put off the kind of mature buyers that tend to buy a Ford Focus. Hopefully Ford have made room in the back of it for an electric model version of it, for a hybrid version. I've driven the hybrid Mondeo. It drives well. The boot's crap, but the rest is okay. It's just a Mondeo hybrid. They've just put a hybrid battery into it, but it just seems really badly thought out with that lump in the boot, which is on a video from a couple of days ago, by the way. But besides that, I hope the Ford Focus turns out well for them, because they really need a shot in the arm when it comes to electric stuff or hybrids or, something's got to come out of it. Stephen, hi Bob, what do you make of the Ford Mondeo hybrid? Any good to drive? What's the MPG like? MPG, I don't know until I've had it for a while. It seemed okay. It's very clever how it works, and it does it all, looks right and works properly. It does the job, but that boot would be a cruncher for me. Like, look at Prius and look at all these other hybrids that have been out there for years, and it's flat floor. You know, you can't see where the batteries have gone. Everything's done properly, and then Ford just seemed to ram it into a boot, you know, and just carpet over the top of it, which is a good way, but it's a bad thing for the person trying to use the boot. It just doesn't make any sense. I'd like to see Ford do a better job. It looked like a prototype to me when I was driving around. I thought, this can't be finished. It can't be finished. This can't be the way it's supposed to look. Brian Cullen says the Ford Focus looks weird. There you are. Now, Andy McPhee says, for a classic car shop, a 205 GTI. I doubt you're going to find a 205 GTI out there for $5,000, unless it's upside down in a hedge. Those are like hen's teeth these days. They all 205s and GTIs. 1.9 is a great car. 70 mile an hour in second gear you do easily in a 205 GTI. Brilliant car. Norm Iron says, bizarre RE seats. My wife is a cancer survivor with the other major issues as a result. I had a bad back, but we can get into a new Polo with more ease than our Tiguan. I can slide into the Polo. Yeah, you'd be surprised. It very much depends on the problems you've got. Like I have a bad back, so I have a slip disc and my back hurts, and every once in a while my back starts to really hurt me. And then I get into an Audi A8 and it cures my back. I know, I just, oh my God, it's the most perfect fit for me. And I jump out of that and I get into the Lexus and my back doesn't hurt at all. So it's, and the same for each car. And then suddenly I get into something like a Renault or something or other, and I'll be murdered with it for the week. So it's very much dependent on your injury versus the car. Polo is actually quite a tall car. It's around the same height as a Volkswagen Golf. So you're in that 5-door hatchback stuff. But some cars have their seats set much lower. So hopefully your wife will continue being a cancer survivor. That's the way it should be. Kick that ass, man. Your cyber currencies are going to improve in value now that Bill Gates has quit Microsoft to pay full attention to. What do you pay full attention to? Sorry, that just jumped on the screen there. There you are. Pay full attention to Bitcoin. Is he doing Bitcoin? Anyway, whatever. Yeah, if you want to, you can support by hitting the Bitcoin thing on there. We need 2 more likes to reach 100 likes. Go for it. Hit the like button if you haven't already done it. Don't do it again if you haven't, if you've done it once before. God, like dealing with children. There you go, 101 likes. Thank you very much. There we are. We're over 100 likes already. You can support the channel, obviously, if you've got Bitcoin or anything else. Those currencies are down there as well. There's my wallets are all listed out. You could, I don't really understand the wallet thing. Someone else set the wallet thing up for me, which is really good. But you can support it by PayPal, Patreon, or Super Chat, which would be all very good. It's always appreciated. It's hugely important because it continues moving this forward. It means I can say whatever I like about cars and I don't have to worry about what I'm saying about them. Any thoughts on a reincarnation of the Next Gear News being included in the Sunday service at the start? That's an idea, actually, Andy. I could do the Next Gear News thing. Yeah, I was doing news for a while ago. A couple of years back, I started doing a weekly news thing. And it was good, but it was hard to continually do it every single week. So, and I was doing more of the car videos than of the news videos. So it was easily a difficult thing to do. But I could bring it back in some way or form or shape or something. Servicing the Leon video, yep, could morph into Ed China now that I would watch. I met Ed China a while ago, actually. He's a lovely chap. He's very bloody tall. Jesus, it must be different. It's like a different time zone up there or something. But he's really nice guy. He's folded himself into a Morgan standing there in front of him, which is quite good. But I'm not a master mechanic, that's for sure. But I could definitely show you to change oil and do that sort of stuff. Yes to the service on the classic cars, +1 for the older reviews. Yes on the car service. Yeah, it must be video on how to service a car. Yes, please, Bob. 1 service of a 2-liter Insignia diesel, please. Thanks. Well, servicing a car is basically servicing a car. Now, if you learn to service a petrol one, you can still service a diesel one. There is some slight differences. Obviously, you don't have spark plugs, you've got glow plugs. And a diesel has more oil in it usually than a petrol. So usually diesels can be up to 4 liters or 4.5, 5 liters of oil. Sometimes it's more than that. Whereas a petrol car tends to be like 3.5, 4 liters of oil, somewhere around there. Usually it's pretty straightforward. Haynes manual is your friend. It's one of the simplest things to do is to do something like changing the air filter. It's the simplest. It's literally opening a box and taking a thing out and putting a thing in and closing the box again. And that's changing the air filter. It really is that straightforward. So it can be worth your while even starting at that bit and learning all your engine components, what they're for, why they're there, what they do, how it's linked to something else. how when you turn the key, depending on the noise you get next, you can tell what's wrong with the car. It's a really beautiful thing. It's an artwork to itself. And a lot of current new young mechanics don't learn this stuff, by the way. Yes, on both suggestion balls, would be interesting to see how some motors hold up over time against what you thought of them new to first review them. A good reference points. That's a good idea. Pick a car I've already reviewed the new one of and then file in its generation 1 or 2 or something and go back and do that one again. Or find something that I did 8 years ago and review it again now. That'd be a good crack because I would totally different feel to it now. Obviously, I review cars differently now than I did 8 years ago, but that's the way it is because this channel is 2010. This channel started, so it's 8 years old now. I'd love the older car reviews. As for the service, there's always already a ton of vehicle-specific videos on YouTube. There is, but a lot of them are very bad teachers. And a lot of them are very bad at explaining why you do something. That's what I find funny. Someone shows you how to do something to go, say you put 2 liters of oil in there. Why do you do that? Why do you do it that way? What's the trick? So there's tricks to everything. There's tricks about draining your oil out. There's tricks about, additives and stuff you can put in your engine and stuff. There's all sorts of little tricks that I've used over the years that have always kept my car going. I mean, my car is 2006, so it's 12 years old now and has never gone wrong. Oh, yeah. I service it usually. I'm sure we could all assist with the older car reviews. Yep, there's lots of people who come at me now with cars to do car reviews and stuff. If you're in the country in Ireland and you've got a car, I can drive it for a review. You can use mine for the service demonstration. Brian Cullen, free service with Brian. What are magic seats? Honda used to put in on the bench back in the back seat would flip up out of the way and the whole thing would turn into a sort of you could put tall items standing in the back seat. You could flip them up, you could flip them down, you make a flat floor in the back. It was very clever system. Worth checking out. I know people who own Honda Civics who never knew it was there till I showed them. so it wasn't a big sales point, but I thought it was really clever. Hi Bob, I've noticed the shut lines are numerous on Nissan Qashqai, to be honest. There you go. See, there we're back to the shut line problem there again. Anthony Foley. Hi, Bob. The pre-2009-2010 VW 2-liter TDI known as PD engines, there can be a problem with the injectors. So there you go. Pre-2009, 2010 2-liter TDI, problems with injectors. An injector problem would probably show up as a misfire. You'd also find that you will probably get a light on the dashboard. So you get a thing that looks like a little spray comes out on the dashboard, which is usually an injector problem. It can be very expensive injector problems if it becomes a real problem. It can be like strip down the engine, start again. It can be gigantic money. So just bear that in mind. Did you hear the new Jag I-Pace EV is being made in Austria? Yes, I did. I was actually talking to Jaguar the other day at the Dublin Tech Summit. Jaguar Ireland were there and they brought along a VR unit, which you can see in the video. Actually, you can see the iPad version of it, but they brought along a VR unit so you can see around the new I-Pace on the inside and the outside and stuff. Looks like a Jag, to be honest with you. They won't be able to get enough of them. The Indian money now is really helping them push forward with their design. Hopefully they will push forward with their reliability and what they're doing in that end and stuff as well. I love the look of this I-Pace, and it looks really, really good. So really good to see that on the roads here in Ireland with any luck in the near future. By the way, I'm from Portlaoise, and I want to buy an A4 Avant 1.9 TDI or 2-liter TDI 2007, 2008. You explain pretty good. Keep up with the good work. No problem. Anytime. I'm glad to hear it. Buy the 2-liter. Some Japanese writing has appeared on my screen. Or should I say some pictogram, whatever the Japanese version of that is, has come up on the screen. I don't know. I can't read that. It's not translating it for me, so I'm really sorry. Thoughts on the Alfa Romeo Giulia? I love the Giulia. I think it's a gorgeous looking car. The test car I had some squeakiness on the dashboard. But I do like the Giulia. I think it's a gorgeous looking car. I think Alfa Romeo are not as unreliable as people think they are. That perception in your mind that the Italians making cars badly, I don't know if that really hangs true these days. A lot of oversight in these guys. They can't just produce that kind of car anymore. So they're a lovely car, lovely car. I'll be booking into more Alfa Romeos later on in the year, hopefully. Focus has to look Korean or East Asian in order to appeal specifically to the Chinese market. If it looks inoffensive, that's fine. If it looks attractive in China, then nothing else matters. China car sales are falling through the floor. A lot of CO2 stuff has come in over there. They're really trying to clean up their act in a big way. So all those car companies ran over there and opened car manufacturing plants in China, because to sell cars in China, they had the same rule as Ireland. Sell cars in China, you have to make them in China. It was a fast move, but it's kind of backfiring on some of them out there at the moment. Bob, is the VW Arteon way overpriced? That's a good question. I think the Arteon is one of the prettiest looking cars currently the Volkswagen make. It is a very different car to feel than the Passat, but not different to drive. It does feel like you're driving any other Volkswagen, but there is something about the styling of it that looks luxurious and feels that part, and it's been priced appropriately for that. I think most cars in Ireland at the moment are overpriced, mainly because of our VRT system, which is nothing to do with the car companies, really. It's the government tax system that comes into it as well. But it does make the cars sound very expensive when they're not actually. But I like the Arteon. I think it's a gorgeous looking car. It's just difficult to justify that extra money over the top of a Passat, which is also a gorgeous looking car, particularly in the state form. A one-off video with Ed China would be epic. Get him out of his shed and on a road trip. It'd be really nice. If anybody has contact details for Ed China, let me know. Don't leave it in the comments, especially if he's got his phone number or something. DM his phone number instead. A reply from one to the other. The thing happening with the new Ford Focus is globalization, as the car is a universal global model. It has duty to impress a wide range of people in different countries. So has the current Focus, was a global model as well. So, you know, they've just gone the opposite direction. Would a Subaru Impreza be a good car? If you can afford the insurance on it, Kyle, if you're looking for any car, no matter what it is, and you come up with a list of 3 of them, you can go after them, but just check to make sure there is insurance available to you on your car. Because the minute you mention an Impreza to an insurance company, they'll probably have a heart attack. MDB MR says, I love you. Thanks. I'm glad you love me, but I'm not interested in you. Thanks all the same. I'm a married man. That's just not going to happen. I need you. Oh my God. It's getting serious now. Someone's going to start sending me all sorts of things. Any chance you could teach people how to correctly drive in a 3-lane motorway, hint the N7? Maybe people will stop sitting in the middle lane all day long. I know it's a pain. It gives me an awful pain because you're not supposed to undertake in this country, which means you can't undertake. If you're in lane 1 and someone's in lane 2, you're supposed to move into lane 3 to overtake them and go all the way back into lane 1 again. You're technically not supposed to drive up the inside lane and undertake them. The problem is if they're doing 90 kilometers an hour in the middle lane and you're doing 100 kilometers an hour in the lane 1, it's an awful pain in the hole having to overtake them that way. So yes, you could do that, but I don't know if anyone actually bleeding watch it, to be honest with you, because people just seem completely belligerent about this sort of stuff as to whether they want to do it or not. Sorry, we're coming up now. Right, here we go. The one Ford model has been successful for Ford, but unfortunately it meant that we have been given products which unfortunately are not as good as the competition, EcoSport, Mondeo, etc. Correct. The VAG 2-litre PD TDI's 170 brake horsepower were all subject of an injector recall free of charge and should have been carried out by now, but still can be done if not. Injector loom may or may not be included. There you go. So now you know the VAG 2-litre PD TDI. Did Jaguar and Land Rover discuss the new factory they were opening down in Shannon this year? No, they didn't. Never mentioned it, actually. I know it is opening, yeah, but I don't know what it's actually going to do when it's down there. It'd be really good to see more of that come back towards Ireland. But there is other stuff that happens here in Ireland already. We'll see if more car companies can be attracted over, like Nissan. Waymo wants to buy up to 20,000 Jaguar I-Pace EVs to fit their autonomous system in. They've been at it for years and haven't killed anyone. Should be an interesting partnership to watch. We'll see. Autonomous driving, we'll see. It's getting a bad rap at the moment, isn't it? Bob, I'm worried no more. Oh, Christmas. Oh, don't be worried about my beautiful little Christmas pancetta is right here. Alive and well. Look at this. It's still going. Still going strong. It loses a leaf every once in a while, but comes back strong. It needs, oh, it doesn't need any water. We watered it today. It's still happening. My Christmas pancetta, my wife's Christmas pancetta, or, you know, she gets one every year, but that's where it is, sitting right over there, just out of shot. A JLR factory in Shannon would be nice to see VW follow suit, or a general auto manufacturing company like Steyr. Yeah, we'll see what happens. See what happens, because we have a very good corporate tax rate, but we don't have assembly employees. That would be the problem that we have in this country. Man, there's some weirdos about today. Today is the day for weirdos. I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to ban that person as well. We've been so busy on the stream today. There's an awful lot of people come to the stream, which does attract a lot of bots and kind of weirdness that comes with those people. But that's okay. I can keep up. It's fine. Where are we? Could I go back up there for a second? I'm going to do something just for the fun of it, right? Because I do have a regular person that's right here, and do that. Right. Andy's just had to get the surprise of his life now. Good man, Andy, who's normally here somewhere around. But anyway, let's see. So now, Brian Cunningham, you've seen the Crystal Poinsettia, right? A JLR factory in Shannon would be nice to see. Follow suit. Yeah, that's a Steyr one. We've done that one. There's a longer range Ionic EV coming. Yes and no. I don't know whether it's coming to Ireland, but there's definitely a longer range Nissan Leaf on the way, a 60 kilowatt hour one. When asked, Nissan looked, yeah, it'll be here in the next couple of years. Yeah, but it is coming. They're terrified of taking sales off the 40 kilowatt one this year for next year. So that would be the problem, right? But there is another longer range Ionic on the way. Hyundai are firing money at electric research at the moment, along with Kia. Ford have put $6 billion into it, so it's very serious money. So they're all a race to get as far as they can on that range thing. Hydrogen is also on the way, so make no mistake, there's an awful lot going on at the moment about this stuff. Kyle asks, what was my first car? It was a Datsun Nissan Cherry. It was the time when Nissan was buying out the Datsun Corporation, but there was an agreement going that it produced the cars with both names on the back for a bit. So Datsun Nissan Cherry was the name of it. It was a piece of crap. It was taxed as a 1.6. It was actually a 1.8. Or no, it was taxed at 1.4. It was actually 1.6. And had a huge hole in the exhaust, made it sound like a rally car, which is really funny. Bob, we have a 2015 Qashqai and have had nothing but trouble with it. Are we alone, or is there lots of issues? By the way, Nissan's response has been poor, to say the least. I don't know what the issues are, so I don't comment on whether Nissan was right to respond to the way they are or not. It depends on what the problem was. 2015 Nissan Qashqais, I don't see a lot of people coming on here telling me that Nissan Qashqai has had a lot of problems. I don't know if Nissan are subject to a lot of problems. They tended to be very reliable over all the years, as far as I know. But that doesn't mean you're not after buying just one of those cars that give problems or it's a relationship problem. Definitely talk to your dealership. Definitely talk to Nissan Ireland. They're a friendly, open bunch that I've ever talked to before. So now that's what me. Obviously, I'm a journalist, so I get a little bit treated differently than a customer. But you know, it's worth investing time and talking to everybody as to whether they want to deal with you on a one-to-one level, or what is the problem, or how you're dealing with dealerships and all. I take the side of consumer most of the time, but generally an individual person coming at me going, my Nissan Qashqai is crap, so all Nissan Qashqais are crap, is hard to deal with without talking to dealerships and getting involved in that respect. So what I would suggest is go back to your dealership, get an official statement out on what they want to do, what the problem is, whether they're going to fix it or not, or what's going to happen next. What is the resolution is really what you want to know. How do we finish this problem? How do you stop being a bugbear on their side, and how did they get rid of you? That's all they want to know, is how they fix your problems. So generally when you talk to Nissan Ireland, or you'll talk to the dealership themselves, remember your warranty goes in any Nissan dealer. Okay, it's a pan-European warranty. It has to be in this part of the world, so anywhere in Europe. Darren Fahey, hi Bob, Golf R or Golf GTI, which do you think would be better long-term second-hand buy? Ownership cost, tax, cheers, doing work on my laptop as you stream. Good man, Darren. I would go, out of those two, Golf R is like driving a supernova, right? So it goes from 0 to 1,000,000 miles an hour in just blinks. And it's really quick and really engaging and an interesting car to drive, and you'll love it. But as a day-to-day drive, it's going to be expensive. It's a four-wheel drive, which means it absolutely chews through fuel all of the time. It's a brilliant car, but if you're going to drive it every day, I would go with a Golf GTI. Buy a DSG one. Don't spend any more money on it. Just get a fairly standard DSG. Get active cruise control, because I do like that, or at least have cruise control on it. Spend your money on a decent stereo. Get that audio pack or whatever it's called these days. And you'll be happy out. You'll get performance. You get that burbly noise. You get some pops and bangs. It's an evolving car to drive. It looks good. It feels good. It goes well. But you won't have those massive bills that come with having a Golf R, especially being the four-wheel drive. If something goes wrong with the four-wheel drive, it's going to cost a bloody fortune. In the future, Golf GTIs are always going to be collectible classics. So I would go Golf GTI. Andy McPhee asked a question there. Is it normally with that? What the hell is this guy? Leo to buy Leo. What's wrong with you, man? Why are you making Sierra cry? That makes no sense at all. Oh, weirdo. This is like the weirdo central today. I don't know what's going on. I don't mean you normal people, but I mean like you weirdos. You come all this way. You've got millions of euros of investment of tech. You've got an internet connection. You can talk to an Irish person from the other end of the world, and all you can say is Sierra. Were you sent here by Dennis O'Brien? And now the other one's at it. There's two of them at it. There's two of them saying Sierra or what's going on with Sierra? I don't want to know. No, I don't want to know. I didn't ask that question. Forget about it. That'll just bring more weirdos. Could you tell us how you became a journalist, motoring journalist? I literally started to review secondhand cars. That's it. I started a website and I started to review secondhand cars, and then new cars came pretty much on their own accord without me having to ask for them. I was offered new cars. And since then, I just continued to build and build and build and just put out, but always with a focus on my actual opinion. Number one, my real opinion. This is what happens to people that don't give an opinion. And number two, I can stand over my opinion every time. And number three, I always think of the consumer first. So not the car company. I'm not trying to make the car company feel good, or, you know, I'm not trying to make the car company go, oh, give me more free cars. Oh, no, if I'm nice about car, you'll give me more free cars. That's just not true. If you're not useful to them, they just get rid of you, and that's the end of it. So whatever, in that respect, if you want to become a journalist, there is other routes to becoming a journalist. If you want to work in a newsroom, you can go to college and study how to be a journalist. You know, Sinead McCann, regular on this channel, she has her own channel as well, Cars, well, that's her channel, but CarsIreland.ie. She's a real journalist. She actually studied to be a journalist. So she went at it from that respect, and then became a motoring journalist because she joined Cars Ireland. There really isn't that many jobs around as journalists out there, working as a journalist at paid positions. I was at the Dublin Tech Summit the other day, and I met a lovely girl. I can't remember her name. It's terrible. Yvonne or something's name. She was really nice. She recognized me from YouTube, asked me about being a journalist. She has a master's degree in journalism and still can't get a paid gig for it. Because she's no experience, and I suppose that's it's way out, but it's a difficult place to work and operate in. I am fortunate. I have my own publications. I have my own thenextgear.com, my own website, my own, you know, everything is I've built me, so I'm the product of that. And the same for the YouTube channel and my Instagram and everywhere else is out there. So you can catch me in all sorts of ways, but it requires me to work 7 days a week. So I work every day. Here I am on a Sunday. Live stream, it's all fun and game stuff, but it actually means I'm not doing something else if I'm doing a live stream. So there's that element as well, as you have to kind of figure out where you want to be in that realm, and that's the difficult bit. But if you really want to be a journalist, there's absolutely nothing stopping you starting your own gig rather than hoping to get a job somewhere in some newspaper, because newspapers are dead, lads. They're walking wounded at this stage. There's really no way that the human race is going to go back to reading paper publications on a regular basis. We are going to continue consuming the internet, and particularly consuming video. That is 100% coming at us now. We are going to continue consuming in video format, in synopsis format, in GIFs, or GIFs, or whatever you want to call them. In annotated things, rather than looking at the world in a broadsheet format anymore. I think that day is really coming to an end. It's very slow. We're one of the last few in the whole world, in Ireland here, where newspaper sales are still even looked at. Look at America. Look how many newspapers fell by the wayside in the last 5 years in America. Look at those massive publications that went entirely digital overnight. And it's happening here. It's just happening here very slowly, very slowly. How are you, Bob? Do you think we'll see a hybrid Audi review? I like the recent A8 and RS3 Dawn Red videos from earlier. In the Audi A8 video, I actually mentioned that I test drove the Audi A8 hybrid 2 or 3 years before. So it's been around. It is coming without a shadow of a doubt. It will be here at some point. I don't know if Ireland wants an A8 hybrid, which is why it's diesel here, and that's why, because it just is, we're a small market. We'd only maybe sell 10 or 12 or 20 Audi A8s in a whole year, and 100% of them are going to be diesel. So the chances of needing to be hybrid is another thing entirely. So might have to go further afield. Sean Nebo says Sierra means how are you in Polish. Does it? I didn't know that. I don't speak any Polish, so I'm terribly sorry. What is your advice about starting a mechanic garage? Don't would be the answer to that. Starting a being a mechanic in a garage. So if you want to be a mechanic, go to someone else's garage and become an apprentice mechanic and learn the whole trade. If you're already a mechanic and you're going to start servicing cars in your own house, you're going to have to get public liability insurance, you're going to pay tax. There's all sorts of things that have to go into that to be self-employed mechanic. Or you're going to do as a nixer, which could be the other part of it. I'm not too sure which one is which. It's entirely up to yourself. But if you're going to start out, go to be an apprentice mechanic. No harm doing that. Learn. You can learn yourself. You don't need to be an apprentice mechanic to learn. Just get a Haynes manual on the cars you're looking at and follow the instructions. It's not that hard. Mark Sheehan says, has anyone ever had a rattle noise from the driver's door, seat, belt pillar area on a Ford Mondeo, year 2011? Very annoying. Yes, I have in the press car. And the last Ford Mondeo I had a bloody rattle in the same place as well. I can never find out what it is, though. It's somewhere on that side, and I think it's something to do with the seatbelt retention thing, the belt part on the ground. I think it's that, somewhere down there. It only seems to happen when you're driving along, and even when I brought somebody with me, I couldn't figure out what the hell it was. You could do what Andy McPhee says there, remove the left trim and looking for any broken clips. Be very careful around the airbags. For God's sake, be very careful around the airbag. When the airbag goes off and hits you, knock you out clean. They're so fast. But you could take the trim off around the door sill, at the bottom of the door. There's a few little rattles and things you can take out. But usually, when you get a brand new car and things start to rattle and you just drive on for a while, after a while everything beds in and then the rattles go away nearly on their own. But that doesn't mean you're going to be able to get rid of it out of your 2011 car, because it seems very far back. Now, sometimes a nut or a bolt will come loose and it'll be inside the paneling, so it's moving around the place. Not a vital nut or bolt, but it can be a pain in the ass, basically. Brian Cullen had a similar rattle in the passenger door of his Nissan Note. Just so everyone knows, I made Andy McPhee a moderator on the channel just there now, because Andy's here nearly every week. And it's just handy, because today we just had an awful lot of weirdos appeared out of the forestry. All these strange people came along, started saying Sierra to me. So there's a moderator now. Andy has here. He can be administrator of the channel. He's regular that comes along. So hopefully we'll have more moderators as we go along as well. We'll see how that one works out. So we need another one, because the channel, the views have gone up on this quite a lot. There's a lot of people coming along to these live streams now. A lot of questions get asked. So it's very hard to keep track of all that, particularly when the bots appear. And he says, garage as a mechanic, start looking into qualifications and courses to take now with regard to the whole EV thing. I'd work in a garage and prepare to be one of the first EV ready ones in the future. That is a really good bit of advice there, in fairness. That is a really good piece of advice, because I was asked the other day, a young man asked me what he should do as a career. Now, I don't know why he asked me. I recognize him from YouTube, but he was just asking me what he should do or further on. And I said, why don't you study electric things? Like, what do you call it, wind turbines and that sort of, that kind of solar panel technology and battery technology. That's where the future's heading. That's where the interesting bit is going to be. And the same for mechanics. You should be starting to learn how battery technology works and how all of that comes together, rather than be looking at the wet clutch system of a DSG box or something in that respect. So, be ready for what's coming and be happy with the world as it is now. Don't worry about what was happening years ago. Thanks for the advice, Mark Sheehan. No problem. Congratulations on promotion, Andy. There you are, Andy. Andy's promoted. Hello, Andy McPhee. Jamie O'Hara. Hi, Bob. You mentioned a DSG GTI would be your preference. Wouldn't the manual version be better fun? Not really. DSG is... The problem is, how often do you want that fun? So if you're going to drive a manual is fun for that drive around Mondello. down second gear, to the floor. But you're going to do that once a year, maybe. And DSG is going to give you just as much fun. For the other 90% of the year, you're going to be stuck in traffic, or you're going to be driving to town, or you're going to be driving around the country. And a DSG makes much more sense at that point. Because with DSG, you just have to put it in D and go, and then you're finished. Brian Cullen, Bob, a link up with Ed China would be great. You guessed with him or vice versa. That'd be very cool. It would be very cool. Ed China is he's a nice chap. Like I say, I only met him for a couple of minutes. We had a very fast chat about cars. He's a really nice guy, very, very tall. And I'm not short, but he was very, very tall. Why wouldn't the government waive VRT in electric cars so we could race to the top of the European green car movement and enhance our green image worldwide? Because the government want money from tax. And that is the main reason behind that. It's the tax money, baby. We like our taxes, and the government want to make sure that we all pay it. And that's why VRT remains resolutely stuck on all our cars here in this country when it's actually kind of an illegal tax. I took our previous VW Golf 1.4 TSI to the garage for a couple of times for the mysterious rattle in the cabin. The third visit, it turned out to be the sunglasses I'd forgotten were in the ceiling drawer. That's a good point as well. Probably something really innocent. Kylie says, Evo or Subaru? Evo for the look, Subaru for the drive. Subaru is not a very pretty car. The Impreza, not a very pretty car, but Evo is a very pretty car. But Evo is... They're both thoroughbred horses. They require an awful lot of money to throw at them. Is there interior rattles have a habit of sounding like they're coming from somewhere they're not actually coming from? Usually, yeah, almost inevitably around a car, you hear all sorts of noises around a car, but actually it's coming from somewhere totally different because a car is not an echo chamber, it's the anti-echo chamber. Andy has a spanner now. I give him a spanner. That's a very apt though, isn't it? For the Sunday service, he gets a spanner as administrator. That's perfect. Listen, that is going to be the end of the Sunday service for today. You're absolutely brilliant to have you here. If there's any support you can give in this channel, it's always good. There are many, many links down below. And for those of you who are listening back on the Sunday service from another time, you're listening on the podcast, it's great to have you here. Make sure you stay up to date. I will join you again next week. There's more videos coming this week. I think I'll have 2 videos out in the next 7 days. And then, of course, Sunday service will come again next Sunday. But until the next time, I will see you on the far side.